Welcome to this very brief history of Ballinrobe. Ballinrobe dates all the way back to 1390 and is said to be the oldest town in South Mayo. This is Main Street, Ballinrobe. It was once called Market Street. The market day in Ballinrobe used to be on a Monday. Goods were sold on specific streets on market day. Well into the mid-1900s, turf, hay, potatoes, turnips and cabbage were sold on Abbey Street. Poultry, such as chickens, turkeys and geese, on Glebe Street. Calves were sold on Bridge Street, and cloth, flannel, woolen socks, lace, wheat, oats and barley outside the market house. This is Main Street as it is today. What has changed? This is the old British Cavalry Barracks in Ballinrobe. It was once Ballinrobe Castle and the home of the Macwilliams. Ballinrobe was a garrison town for many years, until 1926. This meant that there were soldiers stationed there. In 1837, the barracks could accommodate 8 officers, 106 non-commissioned officers, stables for 84 horses, and a hospital for 20 patients. In this picture we can see the sentry post on the left, where the soldiers would have kept watch and guarded the entrance to the barracks. We can also see the red gate, which was the original entrance to the barracks. A bridge to allow easier access to the barracks was eventually constructed across the River Robe and through the green, which is where the soccer pitches are today. This is Cranmore House. It was built in 1838 by Alexander Lambert on the property of Colonel Knox, who was a local landlord. Colonel Knox was married to Louise Catherine, who was the daughter of Howe Peter of Westport House. The house was occupied until the late 40s or 50s, when the taxes became too high. In the summer of 1958, Cranmore House was stripped out. Everything was removed. The roof, slates, timbers, doors, floors, windows, the staircase and the beautiful balcony. Everything was laid out on the grass, lawns and tennis court and auctioned off, and the garden was bulldozed to make way for sheep and cattle grazing. There was nothing left but the walls, just as it is today. This is an example of how past and present actions can become historically significant. If the decision had not been made in 1958 to strip Cranmore House of all its contents, perhaps the house would still be lived in today. This is Crea House. Colonel Knox was not satisfied with Cranmore House, or the house that was already standing in the Cree domain, so he built a mansion called Crea House in 1875. Colonel Knox also planted thousands of trees on the estate. 2,896 trees were planted on the Cree domain before 1813. In 1827, 56,800 trees were planted. Crea Woods is still there today. This is a picture of Crea House as it stands today. Unfortunately, it is only half the size that it once was because of a fire in the 1930s. In 1924, the Crea estate became a tuberculosis sanatorium. This is a picture of the ruin as it is today. TB was a contagious disease that was widespread throughout Ireland at the time. A little bit like the swine flu today, but much worse. In the 1940s, a man called Dr. Noel Brown from Ballinrobe became the Minister for Health, and he started a campaign to rid the country of this terrible disease, and he succeeded. In the 1950s, the sanatorium was taken over by the government and became an agricultural institute for the study of sheep breeding and farming methods. It is now privately owned by a farmer. In this picture, we can see the sanatorium and Crea House together. We can see how close they were to each other. At the time that the sanatorium was being used as a hospital, Crea House was used for staff accommodation, and it also had a small chapel. The Robe Villa was built by the Kenny family around 1740. They owned lots of land in the Ballinrobe area. The family managed the large estate for several generations and ran the 7-storey mill that was behind the house. There was an extensive garden to the rear of the house, with a large orchard attached, which is now a housing estate called Hawthorne Place. Courtney Kenny, who currently lives in London and is an internationally recognised pianist, celebrated his 80th birthday recently and resided in the house with his mother before it was sold to the Ballinrobe Rugby Club in 1992. This is one of the famous Harry Clarke windows in St Mary's Church in Ballinrobe. Dean Dalton commissioned the stained glass artist Harry Clarke to enhance the church with 17 windows. 8 of these contain stories from the New Testament and 8 are of Irish saints. The window in the organ gallery is much bigger and shows the 3 most famous Irish saints: St Patrick, St Bridget and St Columkill. The window that you can see here shows St Brendan with his oar. He is pictured with his oar because his nickname was Brendan the Navigator, and he is supposed to have travelled as far as America. In fact, he is supposed to have reached America before Christopher Columbus, and in a much smaller boat.